Hey, morning, folks. So, this is about Invincible, season three, basically episode 2 and 3. And, I've read a lot of people saying that they're 100% on Cecil's side or they're 100% on Mark's side. And it's really those group of people that I'm making this video about. It's one thing to say, I'm with Mark, or I like Mark the most, or something like that. But I feel like when you say you're on Mark's side or you're on Cecil's side, that you more or less kind of missed the point of the episode. So, like, first of all, if you're in either camp, does the line, you can either save the world or be a good person, come into consideration? Because I feel like, from the writer's point of view, they were pointing you two paths that achieve two different perspectives. So, to be a good person and make ethical, sound decisions is not about being right or wrong. That is good values. You just have to understand that you may lose that battle, that war, or your planet in the pursuit of our morals. And I'm not saying we should get rid of our morals. Don't read in between the lines. But if you're trying to save if you're looking at national security, you're trying to save the world, save the planet, then you have to do things that sometimes don't align with good people. And those are different paths. Now, the nuances between how Cecil and Mark applied the details to achieving their destination, so to speak, because we're talking about these two roads, are muddled with gray. There is Cecil, who hypothetically trapped Mark in a room, who operated on Mark without his consent, and proved to Mark that Cecil can't be trusted, right? And then we have Mark, who proved why Cecil violated his rights in the first place, and proved why Mark also somewhat can't be trusted. And depending on how you look at things, the optics vary on them, okay? There's also something called, and you have to listen to this, implied threat, okay? And I feel like sometimes you have to know enough about political terms, laws, and foreign policy, and the fact that we all in different countries, because we all apply things differently. So implied threat means I don't have to say the words, I'm going to shoot you. But if I brandish my gun as I'm talking to you, that is an implied threat. So when Mike Tyson in his prime is following you around and you're like, stop, stop. He's like, no, no, you gonna do this. You gonna do this. I want answers. You gonna do this today. You gonna do this today. When Mike Tyson says that to me in his prime, and he's going to make me do something, that means he's going to physically, this is an implied threat. He's going to physically make me. Now, I'm going to be in trouble if I just start blasting him, right? But I'm not going to make a joke. You saw, God dang, U.S. law, man. I don't want to bring up people's name. You saw in U.S. law how people have gunned down other individuals, and as long as they could put up the argument that they had a reasonable fear or a reasonable concern that they were going to lose their life, they won those cases. And the reasonable fear includes the fact that the perpetrator, the one that pulled the trigger, put themselves in the situation to trigger the fear in the first place. They were following an individual or whatever, trying to be the police themselves, and then they got, they shot the person, and they say they were in fear. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting. That's why, going back to morally and ethically right, the law, how to save the world, they don't always align. Okay? They just don't. So anyways, personally, I actually think if I'm looking at morals and ethics, then I gotta say it's Mark, right? But if I'm trying to use 100% of the Earth's fighting forces against a Voltramite, Kryptonian, whoever's invasion, I'm gonna need some bad guys. What I'm trying to say is I don't know what I just said like 30 seconds ago. What I'm trying to say is I'm gonna need basically 100% of Earth's resources to fight the Vulturemites. Not 90, not 80, not 70, because some of our strongest beings are being locked up in a penitentiary somewhere. I'm gonna need them. Now, there's gonna be people that you cannot work with because they'll kill you, they'll destroy your planet before the Vulturemites will. Shout out to Dr. Seismic or whatever, because he'll destroy you before the Vulturemites will. Can't work with him. So you may have to use 80, 85% of Earth's population, but we're going to try and use as much of it as possible to save the planet from a Vulturemite invasion, and that won't make us good people in the process, but we'll have a planet afterwards. Okay? Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw the second Batman movie when he spied on everybody because he was trying to find the Joker. But yeah, man. That's why the government spies on people. Like, it invades your whole right, your whole privacy, but plenty of terrorism is thwarted. And you guys don't complain. We all sleep well at night, most of us, depending which country you live in. Because, fortunately, something that you don't know about, some government agent is violating your privacy right now, stopping terrorism. And that's that. You know, every now and then we get up in arms. Oh my God, our rights are being violated or whatever. And you're right, it is, especially as Americans. Your rights is absolutely being violated. But you know what's also being violated? Terrorists. Because that's an extra day that the plan didn't get enacted because somebody overstepped. Somebody who fired a drone in foreign territory, breaking someone's, what do you call it? Sovereignty. To make sure that attack doesn't hit your Western country. I say Western because it's, it is what it is. Sometimes not just the U.S. get ran up. Shoot. Anyways, so that's just that. And now we could say, but the U.S. fired a missile and they create more terrorists. That's also true. That's also true. Because God, believe me, if I'm just chilling, I saw my uncle just get wiped, and I know he didn't do anything, or I thought he didn't do anything, and I find out it's a U.S. Patriot missile, well, you know what campaign I'm riding for. So that is 100% true. And that's why these arguments are so gray. There should be few 100% support this person or 100% support that person. It should be, I see that person's point of view, but if we want to save our humanity, because there's humanity as physical beings and there's humanity in terms of our systems, our value, and our culture, that we follow Mark, Because you can give up your humanity, be like Cecil, and the whole world is a whole bunch of robots. Because how far would Cecil take it, hypothetically? Because we can go that route. How far is Cecil willing to do bad in order to save the Earth? He could go so far down the road that there is no Earth as we see it. Because a bunch of people are robot Sinclair things, And then Mark could be so righteous that there's nothing left to protect because he was not willing to cross any lines. So in story purposes or narrative purposes, even in real life, there's what we call checks and balances. They are both necessary. The Supreme Court, legislation, executive branch, all three are necessary because any one of these single powers without the other three, they go haywire. That's why really they should just have a third person, but it's just these two. So, again, it's not just me saying, oh, I'm afraid to pick a side. I literally watched the narrative explain the pros and cons to both sides. And people get so adamant about one side versus the other. I'm like, are we watching the same show? Are we using the same concepts? Do we know that? Do we remember there's a Vulturemite invasion coming through? Mark's a good kid. Mark is also the Earth's strongest being, and he's an emotional, almost teenager because I think he's like 19, 20 years old. And we single-handedly can't stop him without taking extreme measures. Cecil, I ain't gonna lie to you, it's actually harder for me to talk bad about Cecil, but I know you're supposed to because they're both Alexa cancel. Because both sides are supposed to be balanced. But Alexa cancel. There it is. Yo, you may not have had a problem with Mark. You may have created the very problem that you were trying to avoid by doing things like that, Cecil. Going back to the Americans and trying to take out terrorists, and in the process, creating more terrorists. It's like that person or that area probably wasn't going to be a terrorist, or there was a terrorist there, but when you killed them, you created 4 more new terrorists because that person is related to people. So you keep creating more terrorism. So again, you have a good Viltrumite. You're afraid of a bad Viltrumite. So what do? You piss off the one good Viltrumite you have left, and now you have a bad Viltrumite. So that's where I could go with Cecil. But you see, like, I'm trying. Like, it's not emotional. Like, I do have a person I like the most. But again, like the person I like the most, I'm able to separate my own values and come to reason and sense. And I like Mark in the sense where he's not going to violate my rights. You know, I can agree to Cecil to a certain point, and Cecil's like, you know what, I'm taking your house. Now, this is not planet saving stuff, but he might be like, I need your house because there's some goddamn resource behind it, and I'm just going to take it. I'm like, nah, it's my house. I don't have anything else. Mark's going to be like, we can't take his house. We have to find another way. Perfect. Cecil might be like, I'll pay him for the house. Great. We'll find some resource. We'll steal someone else's house and give it to him. Great. You see? It all depends, man. It all depends. But anyways, guys, much love.